What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball, and more importantly, welcome back to another mock draft. We do this every other week. We're going to dive into the prospects, we're going to talk about them, see who's moving up and down the boards, but anyway, let's jump into it. And that brings us back here to Bleacher Report, because of course it does. A little bit of a couple notes before we get into this. If you guys have been watching these bi-weekly videos or whatever, where we're talking about the prospects, you guys are familiar with this. I'm very, very passionate about the topic of like prospects and developing players and stuff. When I worked with like the NBA and stuff, I did like player development and things like that. I guess I still kind of work there, just in kind of a different section now. But anyway, player development is something I'm very passionate at, and I typically, that's kind of my area of specialty, if you will, is evaluating talent, talking about stuff like that. But I want to preface, I have not done enough homework to give you guys concrete opinions on too many of these guys yet. I will say this last like week and a half, I have definitely started to ramp up that production a little bit more. So do I have some more opinions? Sure, but at the end of the day, nothing concrete yet. I also want to say with these mock draft videos, this is more to look at a ranking. We don't care about where these players get drafted to at this point. We're halfway through the season. Only a lot can change in terms of standings and everything. So we're really just talking about like which players are at the top of the board versus the bottom of the board, right? So now that those couple of notes are done, let's get in and talk about these guys, right? I think that's the fun in this video. And oh, I'm so glad the boy VJ is right here, because I cannot wait to talk about this kid. I cannot wait. But anyway, who's number one? I wonder. It's Cooper Flagg. Yeah, it's Cooper Flagg. So I've been saying for basically this whole basketball season that Cooper Flagg will go number one, most likely. And obviously there's the other three guys, right? There's the other three players. There's Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. I'll continue to say, whatever order you want to put those three in, I support you in that decision. I have all three of them listed in my mind right now as future like NBA All-Stars. I'm like, I think that's how good these guys are. They have all NBA type potential. All three of them. I think they're really good. And I might have a fourth on that list, so stay tuned for the video. But no, whatever order you want to put these guys in, totally fair. I've been saying Dylan Harper is the best college player up to this point. I think Cooper Flagg might be taking that over at this point. He has been dominating like it's nobody's like business right now. Like defensively, looks awesome. Even when his teammates are throwing up on the court, he's still in the right place on there. He rotates and everything perfectly. I promise you. For those aren't familiar, it's a whole thing. We'll talk about it later in the mock draft. But Cooper Flagg's getting to his spots on his court. He's hitting his jumpers and everything. He looks so poised, man, for his size and everything, and the way he's able to move the handle with the ball and everything. It's just not a skill set you see very often. The athleticism, playing above the rim, the jumpers looking a lot better and everything, which, look, we don't care about efficiency too much right now with young guys. It's just not something that's overly important at this point in their basketball career, but he's getting more effective. The scoring numbers are going up big time. He looks like college basketball is just too easy for him at this point. It probably is, and he is dominating, man. Even if they don't win like every single game, like don't trip about stuff like that. Don't be one of those doys on YouTube that's out commenting like, they're not winning every basketball game. Yeah, okay, you've just exposed yourself. You've never actually played high level basketball. Congratulations. But no, Cooper Flagg, awesome. He's gonna be the number one pick. Totally on board with it. Like, I get it. At the end of the day, he's really, really good at basketball. He's awesome. Love it. The pro comparisons to Kirilenko and Jalen Johnson, honestly, don't really see it at this point, but fair enough. Dylan Harper, number two. Not a surprise there. He's been the best college player for most of this season. You guys have heard me say over and over again, so I don't need to beat a dead horse, right? His game, I think, can translate to any professional basketball league around the world. Like you guys hear me say often that all the leagues are very different, right? Whether it's the G League, the NBA, Euro Leagues, the NBL, things like that. They all have different play styles where different things are more valuable and stuff. I think Dylan Harper just plays kind of like the purest form of basketball, if you will. Like, his skills are very well defined. He's got multiple counters to things. He plays within himself well. He sees the court. He can shoot the basketball. He's got incredible size. I'll continue to say 6'6", 215, and a true point guard at 18 years old is insane. Like, combine all of that with like some really good footwork and everything, and a great sense for just being all around a good basketball player. This kid's going to be awesome. He's going to be so good. I'm so excited to see him play. And it's so cool that he's getting to play with Ace already, because we're seeing he knows how to play off of people as well. So that's why you're like, okay, yeah, this guy could run a couple different positions for us, and it could do a couple different things while still being a go-to scorer, being clutch, being a good defender, all of those things. It's a complete package as well, man. I feel really good about this prospect. He honestly feels like he'll get into the NBA and maybe have the most immediate success. Like I said, that's just kind of my evaluation on his game and his play style. He really is big Jalen Brunson at the end of the day. So I'm really excited about it. I'll continue to say, though, Ace Bailey's my favorite of the three. I think he's got the highest potential out of all of them, and here's why. The athleticism and the coordination at his size, which is 6'10", 200 pounds right now, right? He's slim right now. But the coordination and the handle on the ball and the burst and the athleticism that he already has is one thing, right? That's amazing. The jump shot, though. That jump shot looks good, and it's not easy shots. He is hitting hard shots that take a lot of coordination, a lot of focus, a lot of thought is going into each one, and he's so creative with some of them. Like I said, I've seen multiple times this year. I've watched a lot of, I don't think I've missed a game of the top three dudes, so I feel pretty confident about this. I've counted 5 or 6 different times this year where Ace Bailey makes a move, and I'm like, yo, you kind of broke my ankles watching the film, because I'm like, I did not think you were going to go there and go do this. That shouldn't have been an option for you, but you made it happen, and you hit it. Like, okay, that's interesting. So I see a lot of KD in this kid. Like, I really do. I really do. The Brandon Miller, Michael Porter Jr., Rashard Lewis, that's interesting, because none of those guys have the crazy athleticism that he does. Brandon Miller's pretty athletic, I guess, but I wouldn't say as athletic as like Ace is. So those are kind of interesting comparisons. But it's these tall, like difficult shot makers, right? Like that's what they're kind of saying with this. And that's what I'm saying. Like the athleticism is the best part of his game, but it's crazy that he can do the other stuff. So I'm just like, I'm in love with this kid. I think he's so talented. I'm very excited. And before we get going with the rest of this draft, let me make it very clear. Like, it's going to seem like I'm really hyping up a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys are really good. I truly think this is a very elite draft class. If you guys were to watch my videos from last year, I would have been speaking pretty negatively about a lot of the class. I'm like, I don't really like this. I don't really like this. And that's kind of proven to be true for the most part, right? Like, not saying that those guys aren't anything, like they are something, but this looks like a very elite group, and this is not the standard, right? Typically, if you're a top 10 pick, I'm not always going to have the nicest things to say about you regardless. Like, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a hurdle. This is going to be a hurdle. And that's not a bad thing. That's just being honest, right? It's like, yeah, no, they're going to have to do X, Y, Z. The top 10 picks in this draft look like they can step into the NBA and do some stuff right now. So I'm like, shit, like, okay, I hope you guys don't get used to this, right? Because this is not a typical thing, and who knows what'll happen at the end of the day. But I just want to make that clear. Number 4, it is VJ Edgecombe. So going into the season and everything, I said, hey, VJ Edgecombe might be my favorite player coming in. It's Ace Bailey now, but VJ Edgecombe, I'm telling you, has entered into that conversation within the top 3 in my mind. Dude has been killing it recently. If you haven't gone and watched his games, here's your homework assignment if you guys want to have some fun, right? Go watch the last couple games of VJ Edgecombe, pause the video right now, and tell me in the comments section who he looks like. Here, I'll wait for a second. Okay, did you come back? Because if you answered Anthony Edwards, he moves exactly like him. I don't know why I didn't pick up on it earlier in the season, probably because I'm not watching like as closely, right? But like now that I'm sitting down and watching, it's not an accident. There's no way. He moves just like him. Just watch. Like, yes, the size and everything, right? The 6'5" and everything. Like, he's a $180 right now, so he's like a little bit light, but looking at his frame, he's going to fill into it just fine. Just watch him move. He moves just like him. He is mimicking his game 100%. Whoever is training him, because no, he has professional trainers already, and he has because he's already played in the Olympics and stuff like that. I can't confirm this, but someone is definitely teaching him to move just like him. His jump shot's the same, the way he moves and the way he takes off and the way he attacks a lot of his dribbles and stuff like that. His different ISO and kind of like hesitation moves and stuff are exactly the same. Someone is feeding him Anthony Edwards film, and he is doing an amazing job imitating him. Like, they take off the same way. It's so interesting, honestly, and it's fair because this guy's a crazy athlete. Like, this is another one of those, like, I called the Thompson twins 11 out of 10 athletes. He's a 10.5 out of 10 athlete. Like, that's how talented this guy is. But now he's hitting the jumper as well, and he's finding open teammates. He's cutting to the rim. He is dunking on people and starting his dunk from outside the lane. Like, it's insane. Like, I think this guy has so much potential, and I think he's going to be a lethal scorer. The defense is looking good as well. Very, very excited about it. Like, the game is really coming together for him, and I think this guy's entering into the echelon of players with ace in them. So, yeah, you should be excited about VJ Edgecombe, because I am too. And then we got, not who I expected to see here, but always excited to talk about him, Jeremiah Fears. Yeah, I fear him, right? Fear the kid. So, we've kind of seen the Russell Westbrook comparison, right? What do we got here? Jaden Ivey, Russell Westbrook. That's totally fair. 6'4", another big ball handler, right? We're going to keep making the big ball handler jokes on this channel. By the way, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment to my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. Stay tuned to the end of the video where we'll do the comment of the video. We've got a good one for this one. I've actually got a good couple of them. You guys have been, I think, utilizing the comment of the video and trying to be a little more creative in the comment section, which I appreciate because I like reading them. I do really read them all, so go into that. But Jeremiah Fears, very, very interesting player. He's one of those young, really athletic guards that can just get up and down the court. He attacks. He's fearless. Does he take a lot of bad shots? Yes, he does. Does he have too many turnovers sometimes? Yes, he does. But you see so much creativity out of him already that you're like, okay, I can see where we're going with this. And he's in a very small frame right now. Again, the 6'4", kind of $180, true freshman and everything. It's the explosiveness. He's got a great handle on the basketball already. He's also hitting 43.8% of mid-range, 83% of his free throws, 10 of 18 floaters. Yeah, so he's got a couple things to his game right now. A lot of these guys usually make a lot of mistakes like early on in the NBA, and they've just been more athletic than everyone else their whole lives. But this guy does seem to have a pretty good feel for it overall, and I can totally see why, looking at him, I'm like, okay, I can see where this could possibly turn into something. Like, if you were to hand this guy to a player development guy like me, like they come to you and they go, hey, we just drafted this guy, like, we got to mold him into something. I'm like, yeah, no, I know exactly what I can do with this guy, right? Like, I can foresee a future starting point guard in this guy or something like that, and have a really strong lead scoring guard out of him or something. So I totally get it. I totally get it. I might not be as excited about him as I am the other four above him, or even maybe a couple of the guys after in this, but I totally see it. I think this guy could be a starter in the NBA and be a really, really good basketball player. This is one of the guys I probably have above him. This is Kasparas. You guys told me how to say his name. It's kind of like Valanciunas. I remember that. Jakucionis, I'm going to say, because he's also from Lithuania or whatever. So, yeah, Illinois guard, again, big ball handler, 6'6", 200 pounds. Very exciting. I have watched a little bit more film on him, and it's really interesting, right? He's got that kind of Luka Doncic game to him, except he does mix in a lot more off-ball stuff. Like, he does come off some floppy actions and things like that, where if people are going under him, he's hitting the three-pointer, right? You see him in these ball handling situations where he's got a couple moves. He's putting his strong hips into people and getting them off him, and then he's getting them behind him, and he's holding them off, and then he's exploding and getting to the rim and things like that. So, and he's not like, he looks more like younger Luka, where he's a little bit more explosive and everything. Like, Luka's a lot more kind of like herky-jerky now when he moves. Like, he moves a lot more like young Luka and stuff, where it's a little bit more like, okay, I'm just going to the rim now, right? And I don't know. I really like it. I think the ball handling is great. The passing IQ is probably the best thing. You guys have heard me say it before. He sees things instantly, and he's probably actually ahead of it. He's anticipating even more so. Like, a lot of time with the younger guards, take a Jeremiah Fears or something like that, you kind of see them reading it as it goes. He's more so like in control of the entire game, and you're like, okay, cool. Like, he's like, okay, I'm coming around this, and he already knows. He's like, okay, I'm either hitting this or this, depending on where you go with this. And then as soon as that person makes a decision, he's like, boom, pass over there to the corner. There you go, open three, go get a bucket, right? So I really like Kasparas. I could totally see him being a starting guard in the NBA at some point. My only concern is he going to be good enough at it, and this is on him, right, because I think the potential is there, to take away the ball from someone else? Because look, there's only one ball in basketball, right? And there's a lot of people in the NBA that like to have the basketball in their hands all the time right now. Is he going to be able to be fully utilized without the basketball? We're seeing that he can play without it, but how much is he worth then without it versus with? And is he going to be good enough with it to justify taking it away from someone else? So That's what I think part of the question is, but I really, really like this kid. He's really smart. I think he's got enough athleticism to make it work, so curious to see. Portland Trailblazers. Ooh, I'm actually surprised to see this here. Maybe I'm not, because Tre, he's put up some big time scoring numbers as of late as well, right? Like, I'm not tripping about that. I'm remembering that correctly. Okay, they don't touch on it, but regardless. So we've got a 6'6" shooting guard right here, and I've compared him to Cam Thomas for the Brooklyn Nets. He is big Cam Thomas, and so I think his role in the NBA could be a little bit more limited, but he's young, right? There's a lot of time to develop, and here's what I'll continue to say about the kid, right? He has never seen a shot he doesn't like, and good news for him is he seems like he can make any single shot in the world, whether it's just like, okay, I'm kind of at the logo at this point, and I'm coming to have a screen, so I'm just going to pull it from here right now. Screw it, I'm pulling it. Hits it. He can go drive either direction, stop on a dime, and then pull up, hit any jumper he wants. He's awesome at it. He's a little bit inefficient at the rim right now, but he is pretty decently athletic already, so I'd like to think it's probably going to be okay. It's just a skill set he needs to improve on and such, but he doesn't really see his teammates at all. He's not really playing within a system or anything like that, so is he really playing winning basketball? That's going to be the question. But if you told me I can have this guy coming off the bench as a rookie, I'm willing to bet you he can get me 12 points in the NBA as a rookie right now, right? And that'd be something. I bet you he can do it pretty efficiently as well. And we'll teach him the other stuff in the meantime. But given his size and everything, he should be an okay defender at some point. I'd be pretty excited about this guy as well. Again, do I think he's going to be some NBA superstar one day? Maybe not as much, right? Just because, like, I've seen play styles like this, and it usually doesn't translate to this. But do I think he can be a very good player in the NBA and an impact kind of like a spark plug type guy? That's where I see him right now. I could see it. I could totally see it. Oklahoma City Thunder, here we go. This is my boy. I was watching this film just last night, soaking in. I was talking about it on the Discord. If you're not on the Discord already, what are you doing? Go join the Discord. The link is in the description. We're talking hoops on there all the time. How many Discord notifications? I've got 3 Discord notifications on here right now of people posting trade ideas, talking about the 2K league they're in, and all these other things. So just go join. It's a lot of fun. People talking on there all the time. Asa Newell from Georgia, listed as a power forward. I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure he's just going to play center in the NBA. But maybe. So we have a 6'11", 220-pound freshman coming in. They're comparing him to Bobby Portis, Jalen Smith, Marvin Bagley. Why are they comparing him to these guys? Because he's pretty skilled, actually, for his spot, and he can totally bounce around between kind of the 4 and the 5. I'm going to say in the NBA, he's going to be more of a 5. That's going to be my instinct. But here's the cool thing about Asa Newell that I was watching last night, right? And for those of you that don't know, I was trying to tell people before the season in kind of our very early mock drafts when he was down in like the 25th pick, I'm like, nah, seen this kid play in person, y'all. This guy, he looks a little bit different to me. I'm just letting y'all know. Because what I saw is I'm like a pretty clean jumper, can move pretty well at his size. I'm like, that's pretty nuts. So what have we seen, right? At first, he was basically just around the rim, scoring buckets that way and everything. He gets people on his back. He's got a mean post hook, Robin Lopez style, right? Very, very cool. We see some rim running type stuff then all of a sudden developing. Okay, cool. He's hitting some 3-pointers now when he's open. Okay, now we're seeing him catch the ball in short roll situation. He's dribbling. He's moving towards the hoop and making passes and then stopping and like hitting threes and stuff like that and dumping it off to people. He's athletic as hell. He's dunking the basketball and you're like, oh, hold up a second right here. Okay, we've got a multi-dimensional big right here. He's seeing the court. He can score around the rim. He can play above the rim without the basketball. Put the ball on the floor. And he can step out and hit a reliable 3-point shot. Yeah, sign me up for that right now. 6'11", bet money bitch right now. Sign me up for that. And now he's starting to make threes. A development that matches tape from Montverde. That's where he was. There should be plenty of interest in the 6'11" versatile defender. That's the other thing. Yeah. Great defender right now, too. Elite play finisher with floor spacing potential. Yes. Sign me up for all of this. It's like a Derik Lively with a jump shot. It's so cool. So I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. Khaman Maluach. I think that's how you said it. This is the Duke player that threw up on the court and they needed like 100 towels to like clean it up. I'll be real with y'all. Like, you know, like D1 level and everything, right? I've totally been in the space and seen people just before practice. You just get done with cardio. People just walk over to the trash can. They puke a little bit. They're good to go. Happens, right? Is it probably the healthiest? Probably not, but it happens. I promise you it does. It's not like uncommon. That dude just like lost everything on the floor right there. We don't need to talk about it any further. It was gross, though. So, but anyway, Maluach, no longer the number 1 big coming off the board with Asa Newell there, and that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. I think there's a higher ceiling here with Newell, but Maluach, Again, I don't know exactly how to say his name, but very, very interesting player. Very new to basketball. I continue to say looks really, really smart out there. Always in the right spot on the court. He's sometimes a little bit late to it, but again, pretty new to basketball at the end of the day. Still figuring that stuff out. Seems like an incredibly smart individual though, because again, he's almost bossing around his teammates a lot of the time. Defensively, he's a monster. He can stand up and dunk the basketball. Doesn't even need to jump. Pretty crazy, right? He's blocking shots. Even if the numbers themselves, like if you go look at his stats, it's not going to tell you the truest story here because there's not a ton of opportunity for him at Duke. But once this guy fills out, he plays more basketball and everything. There's totally like a starting center in here. Like it's not hard to imagine. Like you see what like Yves Missy is doing this year, which by the way, Yves Missy had like a gnarly dunk the other day. That shit was crazy. Like this guy should clear Yves Missy like without a problem. Like the talent is so much more than him. It's not even funny. It's just Missy's probably been playing basketball a lot longer, right? So I could totally see this guy turning into a starting center in the NBA that's very defensive oriented. I'm not sure he's going to be anything more than a run, jump, and dunk guy. There's some people theorizing that there's a 3-point shot kind of hidden in there that we just don't really get to see at Duke right now. So I guess we'll see. I'm not expecting a Joel Embiid transformation out of this guy, but strong defensive run and dunk center, yeah, you can sign me up for that right away, especially when they're that smart. All right, on to Ben Saraf. I'm curious because I haven't watched Ben Saraf. So what are we saying? I haven't watched Ben Saraf in the past like 2 weeks is basically what I'm saying. Consistency at the 18-year-old in Germany is given some credibility. There's some skepticism about his frame, athletic limitations. I thought he looked pretty quick, honestly. I wasn't tripping about it. Low 3-point volume. Yep, they're going to talk about the playmaking and everything, but it's getting tougher to doubt him when he continues to score with efficiency and his creative handles. Yep, very smart. The foreign players, we often see that. By the way, if you're noticing, all 18-year-olds, like all young guys, really talented young guys. So there's a lot of room to grow for these guys still. So just keep that in mind. Playmaking ability looks real. In spite of the turnovers, that happens with young players, right? It just happens. He's registering a 33.3 assist percentage. That's pretty nuts, honestly. That's really, really good. Showing a clear feel for manipulating defense, off-ball screens and stuff like that. By the way, if we want to look at like assist percentages and stuff like that, just to give you guys like context, like the top ones in the NBA, Elfrid Payton, actually, funny enough, obviously the usage is pretty low there, but take Trae Young, right? He's 44.9%, which is pretty nuts. Where he would be at right now is he'd be the 97th percentile currently in the NBA. So a little bit of context for you guys there. That's really, really good. He's finding his role man with shooters, adapting to it. Yep, smart basketball player. So we just got to work on efficiency a little bit. I've seen enough creativity about him to be very, very curious. There's still probably some people I'd have above him, but definitely a guy you want to watch for. And again, 6'5", true point guard. Tall guys. And a lefty, which is always fun. Always fun. Collin Murray-Boyles. Okay, so this is where your boy does throw skepticism in, right? For the first time and not being maybe as excited about people. So Collin Murray-Boyles, for those of you that don't know, he's basically college Julius Randle, is what I've said. And they've compared him to Julius Randle as well. He's delivering the same scoring production and efficiency as last year, only in a larger role with more creation responsibility. So, here's the thing with him, right? He plays a lot like Julius Randle. 6'7", 245, amazing athletic frame and all of that, right? There's no question about that whatsoever. There's going to be, what I'm telling you, my communication with like scouts and stuff that are working for teams, I'm going to guess 75% of them are going to agree with what I'm saying right now, and probably 25% are going to disagree. There's going to be 25% of people that say, no, there's enough skill here to kind of work with and everything. We'll mold the playing style and everything. I think it'll work out just fine in the NBA. I totally hope so. That's totally fair. Me and a probably majority of the other people are going to look at this and say, okay, this is a guy that thrives in post-up opportunities and a very slow-paced style of basketball. Think Julius Randle when he gets that high post and everything. Likes to play with his back to the basket. He can pass out of it. He can defend, stuff like that. He doesn't really step outside and shoot it a ton. And I'm like, okay, are we going to let him do that at the NBA level? Why would we let him do that at the NBA level? We haven't seen success from anyone doing that at the NBA level in a while. Think the Embiids, the Randles, right? It's not really a thing necessarily. It's just not. So what's the role exactly? What are we converting? So now I just have this kind of like chunky power forward that's strong and tough, that doesn't really step outside and shoot. Like, sure, he's an interesting physical prospect, and I think he's smart, but I don't know. I'm not sure I see it in the long term. He has made 6 threes this season after making 0 as a freshman. There's going to be NBA teams who will need to be sold on his potential to shoot a jump shot. It is kind of true. It seems simple, but you kind of needed at that position. He's a difficult cover even without one, and he's looked more comfortable handling the ball this year. Yeah, like I said, Julius Randle-esque and operating as a playmaking forward, but is that the best way to run a basketball team? No. So I have some hesitations with that prospect there. Nolan, Traore. Oh, still up here. Okay, very interesting. Again, I've been watching a lot of American basketball right now. The last 2 weeks, I'll be so honest with you, I haven't watched really any foreign basketball. He's had some of the biggest showings of the season over the past few weeks. Damn it, and I missed it. Of course I did, after he wasn't really doing anything much before that, which included a 5 3-pointer game. Ooh, good for you, and a 20-point performance. Ooh, and he's, by the way, he's a French guard, another big one, 6'4", true point guard, right? We see pretty good athleticism, pretty poor efficiency right now, pretty poor, honestly. Maybe a few too many turnovers, but he does see the court pretty well. Again, really good athlete. I got some buddies that are in this league, and this is like top of the line, like French league and everything. They're like, no, like he's pretty good. He's just not making the shots. So like once he starts making the shots, like, I feel probably pretty good about this kid. He seems pretty tough. So I'm inclined to believe them about that. Until May, he's been often going head-to-head against 30-year-old guards. That's the thing, man. He's playing in an incredibly difficult league. The French league is very, very good right now. But production and age have to be taken into consideration. A 44%... Oh, Jesus, a 44.4 assist percentage, ranks higher than any projected draft pick right now. What did we just say? That would put him at par with Trae Young right now. That's nuts. That's an insane assist percentage. He has clear feel for manipulating, decision making, setting up his teammates' on-ball screen situation. That's Lonzo Ball comparison. His range and touch will need improvement. The thing is, he's getting to the spots. He's just not converting. So I'm like, we just get the reps in. We get older. We get stronger, right? It feels like we're going to be okay, so I'm very, very curious about this prospect here. Kon Knueppel. Ooh, I like me some Kon Knueppel. 6'6", another freshman, right? Another Duke guy. They're comparing him to Kevin Huerter. Modest stat lines is probably the best way to describe him. Through scouts, remain confident in his shot making and off-ball screen situations. Look, I've been saying this for the past couple weeks. Knueppel's going to get to the NBA. They're going to start running him off of floppy sets and everything because he looks like he's going to be a good like off-ball shooter and everything like that. All the form looks good. Everything says that this guy should be a good NBA shooter. And he's got the size and the strength and the toughness to where he shouldn't be a liability on defense ever, which is always kind of the plus of things. He does put the ball on the floor a lot more now because it's college and he can, right? I don't personally see that skill set being good enough in the NBA. But if you're telling me he's the third ball handler on a court and, you know, every once in a while, let's say he's made 2 threes early in a game and he can catch and rip and then make the next pass or something like that. If we're starting to see some skill set developing there right now, that's great. I'd feel pretty good about that overall then. So Kon, I'm a fan. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as like a Dalton Connect was this first year, but I think he's an interesting prospect nonetheless. Liam McNeely still up here as well. Very similar thing. This guy is going to be a shooter at probably the 3 or the 4 spot in the NBA, running off of screens and stuff like that. That's his skill. Another freshman. An ankle injury costs McNeely weeks, but it's also a highlight. They're highlighting the missed impact of his shot making and play finishing. He puts the ball on the floor right now a lot more because he's in college and he can't because he's better than everybody else, and that's more than fair. But this guy does seem to have a lot of scoring instincts. Looks like he's going to have a really pure jumper. He's got good size at 6'7", 210 as a freshman. I could totally see him with a little bit of shine on him after like a year. He could be a nice role player in the NBA and really being a floor spacer off the bench or something like that. The Georges Niang type is probably a good comparison as well. But I get the Keegan Murray one. Okay, so we finished off with like lottery ones. So this is where I start to speed things up a little bit more, not going into as much detail, in part because I haven't probably watched them as much as I'd want to give you full-on opinions on these people. I mean, even the last couple guys, my opinions are going to change, but we're going to kind of roll through these a little bit faster. In the second round, we'll roll through it even faster and see if we even want to talk about each of these guys. Essengue, I'm still surprised to actually see him this high because he's got a cool body type, right? 6'9", 200 pounds, 18-year-old, can do a little bit of everything. He isn't doing anything great right now, so it makes you very curious, right? Like you're like, oh, this is just a really interesting athlete, and I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do with him otherwise, so that's why I'm kind of just like, meh. I guess we'll see with him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to fall a little bit on this list. Thomas Sorber, thank you for moving this guy up the list as to where he's been before. We're starting to see see some bigs move up the list, which is good. There wasn't many at the top to begin with. I like this kid. I like this kid a lot. I'm not sure I see a starter in him one day, but I like him. 6'10", 255, athletic, plays above the rim, blocks a ton of shots. He's stepping out and hitting some three-pointers. His upside was on full display against Providence. He had 25 points. He had a pair of threes, nailed multiple mid-range shots. Again, the defense is what's really interesting. The frame is huge for a freshman. That is a really big freshman, y'all. That's a really, really big and strong dude. So really curious about that. His post skill, defensive presence, and the passing have consistently stood out throughout the season. And while scouts likely wish he was taller and more reliable, 6'10" is fine. I'll keep it real with you. Like, yes, you're going to face some people that are bigger than you in the NBA. If you're a backup center, though, and you're 6'10", and you're 255, you can box anyone out. You're going to be just fine. He's got good instincts and stuff. He's going to be good. So I feel good about this guy. If you're looking for a backup big to throw in your rotation or something like that, there's a lot of teams looking for that right now because there's a shortage of bigs in the NBA at this very moment. You could get him there. So I'm excited about him. Egor Demin, again, falling off a little bit as of late. We'd like to see a bit more of the passing and the three-point shooting like we saw at the beginning of the season. So we'll see. The handle, vision, and passing skill has been on display. Yep, he's 6'9", so that's interesting. I don't see him as a primary ball handler, but I could see him being a secondary one. What's his position going to be in the NBA? I'm not so sure about that. That's why they have him as like the point guard / small forward right now. Teams will likely have to start weighing and assessing the high likelihood of his playmaking carrying over versus the uncertainty around his scoring and value off the ball. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if he's good enough to be the lead point guard, and if so, how's he going to be? Like, the form looks good and everything, and he seems to have really good instincts. We'll just have to see how well it translates. I could see him falling a bit in the draft as well, just because he's kind of a hard project to imagine, if you will. Derik Queen, this is the guy I'm most confused about this whole draft. I will continue to ask you guys for your opinions on him. I feel like one possession he looks really unathletic, and then the next possessions he looks really athletic and he's moving fast. All of a sudden he's dunking on people and he's hitting threes, and then sometimes he like gets a rebound and he's all alone under there and he kind of just like lays the ball up and finger rolls, kind of like bigger, chunkier dudes sometimes doing kind of a lazy way. So I'm not really sure what to do with it, but at the end of the day, you have a 6'10", 250-pound dude. The Jared Sullinger, Wendell Carter comparisons are interesting. He's running up and down the court with the ball in transition sometimes, making passes and, like I said, stopping and hitting threes and dunking on people. And I'm like, okay, I just don't know. It's so like hit or miss for him. So I'm very, very curious to see where he goes. I don't have a strong enough opinion on this guy yet. I don't know what to do with him in the NBA at this point. Hugo Gonzalez, I'll continue to say, I've been tricked by this type of player many times. When I watch him, I get excited, but it never works in the NBA for some reason. So I'm going to be curious. Basically, pretty athletic dude, gets up and down the court. He's got really good size, 6'7". We don't know how much he weighs. He looks like he's got a good frame to him. Super athletic. I don't know, right? Is he going to develop anything else? Is it just a matter of getting this type of raw athleticism into a good program? I guess we'll see. Ian Jackson, he falls into this, what I call the new age basketball or the new age AAU basketball player type, where he's kind of just running at the rim and figuring it out later. Kind of think the early Jalen Greens, right? And guys like that. I'm trying to think of who else I could compare that to. I'm sure there's other names that we've used, like a Cam Whitmore and stuff like that, right? I don't know. Like the shot making is interesting. I don't think any of the moves are like that creative, in all honesty. Like when I watch it, I'm like, okay, I'd lock that shit up. Like I got that, right? And don't put me in front of him right now. I promise you, I can't guard him right now. But like prime athletic AVC, maybe. So I don't know. I look at him and I'm like, okay, I can stay in front of this. Like this isn't too hard to figure out. And given I've got a lot more basketball knowledge and maybe experience, so that obviously helps as well. But it's not overly complicated right now, and it seems a little bit erratic, if I'm being honest with you. So I don't really know. I don't know. I can't see him necessarily being a point guard, and he falls into that kind of smaller shooting guard role, so he's going to have to be a spark plug offensive player. I guess we'll see. Noah Penda, they keep just calling him the new Nicholas Batum. I have no reason to say that he's not. So yeah, I can see that. Basically, bigger dude can step out and hit a three. Interesting. Carter Bryant continues to move up this list. He's given Arizona good minutes lately with a combination of shot making, athleticism around the basket. If his current role remains the same, he could have a tough time deciding on the draft. Yeah. He doesn't play a ton at this very moment, and I've actually talked to some people about him. I would think he should just stick around in college for another year, go get you some NIL money, come back when the draft class maybe isn't as good as the year after. So Just my recommendation. Nique Clifford, this is the one they always compare to Landry Fields, basically, just because this is one of the first older guys in the draft, more of the senior type, 6'6", 200 pounds, can do a little bit of everything, should just be a smart, versatile basketball player, kind of wing. Not going to excel at maybe anything in particular. Interesting enough. Rasheer Fleming. He's the guy that is either dunking or hitting threes, and it's really, really interesting, right? He's totaled 30 dunks, 33 steals, 31 blocks in 20 games. That's insane. That's an insane stat. And he's shooting 41% from three at 6'9", 240. Being that athletic, that defensively inclined, somebody's going to be interested, right? This is just a guy that you feel like you throw him on the court and he might just kind of do things in a positive way, even though we don't really have a game plan for what we're going to do with him. So very, very curious. Boogie Fland, he's been falling a lot more because his shot's just not going in right now. I compared him to Rob Dillingham the whole time. He's going to be hot. He's going to be cold. He's one of those smaller, quicker guards, right? And he is small. 6'2", 175, smaller dude, but very crafty and everything. Can get away from people. He's got the speed. He does have some ball moves to him. He's a bit of a jitterbug at times, right? Where it's kind of like, ugh. And it's like, okay, like maybe be a little bit more confident, figure out where you want to go first, and then try to go for it. But young guard, it's going to be okay. I could see him being a nice player in the NBA at some point because I do think he has a lot of skill. Is he going to be a starting point guard? Hard to say. LeBaron Fillion, I don't know. I just like, this is the one where I'm kind of like, okay, another big guard, not extremely explosive. Not sure if I see him as an NBA player this year, maybe next year or something. If I could see a little bit more development out of him, that's how I'd feel. Jace Richardson. Interesting. Yeah, he wasn't on the board before. So what are we saying about Jace right now? So we got 6'3" point guard. I've seen him play a little bit. He had his game against Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. Jace was the best freshman and player on the floor. Yep, I remember. He scored 20 points on 9 shots in 25 minutes, drilling 3-pointers, picking up the right spots, blah, 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 blah. 68.6 true shooting percentage on the season. That's pretty crazy. That is pretty crazy. Compliment scoring, IQ to identify basketball opportunities, reliable stroke. Yeah, I guess so. Like, if he's just been that consistent, maybe I just don't see the upside when I watch him play necessarily, and maybe he's just more of like a stable presence type of guy. But when you're only 19, you think, man, maybe we can make something out of it. Maybe this is a bit of a sleeper in the draft. I don't know. I'll be curious. Cam Jones, this guy feels like to me he's one of the older guys as well. Like a guy you could kind of throw in an NBA game and some good things could happen right away, like a Jamal Sheed early on. Like, is he going to make a huge impact? No, but I think he's old and smart enough, and this dude can make shots. He can really make shots from anywhere, and I feel like he could be of use to someone when like one of their guards goes down and a team needs to bring their third string into the game. So I could see a role for him in the NBA. Alex Tui. I just love the name of this guy. Tui hit a rough patch in January. Yep, I know he hasn't been hitting his shots and everything. That's what it's going to come down to, is can this lengthier wing dude hit his three-pointer? Shooting left to become more reliable skill. However, he's only attempted 1-3 over Sydney's last 3 games. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the creativeness around the rim is cool. I love his name, but gonna need to see a 3-point shot before I buy into that. And then Maxime Renowned. Yes. Renowned's 20. I think I've watched like 1.5 of this guy's games or something like that. High level offensive skill for a 7'1" big man. Yep. NBA teams will obviously be drawn to his floor spacing. He's hitting a couple threes. Yep. Ability to attack closeouts and use the dribble have created more versatility. I'm not sure I buy it at an NBA level in the little bit I've seen, but I'll have to watch more, apparently. The lack of rim protection may limit him to reserve minutes and everything. Yeah, he's not uber athletic, so that can be a tough one. Let's move on to the second round type guy. Alex Caravan, Georges Niang type of guy, right? Might be able to space the floor, veteran, reliable type of guy. Adu Thiero, not surprised to see him moving down the list necessarily. You see a really cool athlete in a really cool build, 6'8", 220, that moves up and down the court well. Doesn't have a particular skill set that I can rely on, maybe outside of some defense. Miles Byard, not surprised to see him kind of drop back down the list again. You just see a decent ball handler at that size and you get excited early. Haven't seen a ton else out of him since, so guess we'll see. Delaria, I don't know, not that big on him in all honesty. Danny Wolf, in the little bit I have watched, I am kind of curious. He does move pretty well for his size, all said and done, 7 foot. Delano Banton, I'm not calling him Delano Banton. That's a bit of a stretch. Delano Banton was like true, just like give me the ball all the time in college. Trust me, I was on the other end of it. What's this? Danny Wolf has turned heads this season after he shot combined 1 of 14 against Northwestern and Purdue. I don't know, just the little bit I've seen of him, I like the movement and everything. I like the decision making, so I guess we'll see. Rusic, not that interested in him at this point. Lindenberg, I haven't watched any of him yet, so I just don't know. Markovic, I'm not a huge fan of him. Will Riley, he's got an interesting frame. I don't know. He kind of gives me Keyshawn George vibes as well. They always compare him to him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like this game. I'd rather him have a more solidified skill set. So we'll see. Dink Pate, I'll continue to say be interested in him because he has spent a decent amount of time in the G League at this point. So if the jump shot ever came around, he'd be a much highly touted prospect than he is. But at 6'8", 210, can handle the ball like that. Cool. I like it. Sanon, not interested as much. Lanier, not as interested as much. Darian Williams, not very interested. Jameer Watkins, dude can get buckets. I'll give him that. Grunlow, I'll be honest, just have not watched him. I know he appeared on the mock drafts last week. Have not had time to go and watch him. Walter Clayton, this guy. This could be a sleeper right here. Like I said, I see a guy that I could throw on an NBA court. I think he's going to be okay at the very least. He's not going to be a superb player. I think he's going to be okay. I think some of the scoring and like defense and everything could be good. JT Toppin, not a huge fan of him. Ryan Kolkbrenner, I could actually see him going undrafted and then someone just picking him up in the G League and he could have a good G League season or something like that. Rocco Zakarski, I'll continue to say I like him. I think if I got him in the lab for a while, I could make something good out of him. Just a crazy athletic build and frame, 7'2", 230 pounds, good athleticism, doesn't get a ton of burn right now, so we will absolutely see. Xavier Lee, love the defense and the energy, man. We'll see if you make it league side. Eric Dixon, I don't know if I see a great NBA player in here, but this dude will absolutely crush it in the G League. I have no doubts about that whatsoever. By the way, there's an ambulance going by right now. Give me a sec. Anyway, is he still the nation's leading scorer? I think so, or something like that. His game is kind of Julius Randle-esque as well, where it's kind of just dependent on him doing whatever he wants, but dude does hit some tough shots, and he's fun in transition sometimes, so I guess we'll see. Faye, haven't watched any of him yet still. I do have it on my list. Johnny Broom, I'll keep saying I do like him, and I actually think that this guy could be an NBA player, like an NBA rotational player at some point. The 6'10", 240, strong, he's tough. I think he could be like a good defensive guard forward that comes off the bench, asserts himself really physically, could be a real attitude guy for someone. I mean, Dylan Brooks wasn't Dylan Brooks a second round pick or something like that? I get a lot of Dylan Brooks type vibes. They're different players, but like in their like kind of play style and attitude type of thing. So I feel like I could see that kind of role developing for him out of that, and then maybe he could even step out and hit a jumper at some point. So I guess we'll see. Hunter Salas, people will be interested just because of the bucket getting potential. I'm not sure I'm even familiar with this name, Joan Burringer. Interesting. Guess we'll see. Tyrese Proctor, I'll keep saying, stay in college, just wait it out. Dalen Swain, not all that interested. Brooks, yeah, this kid's the shooter, right? He's the one that I saw. Was he the one that like fell off the rim or whatever during one of his dunks or something like that? Yeah, he's averaging 8 boards, 4.1 assists, blah, blah, blah. NBA teams will need more. Okay, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else or something. Does Northwestern have another dude that's like a lethal shooter or something like that? I'm pretty sure this is the guy that fell off the rim or whatever, wasn't he? Maybe I'm tripping. You guys can let me know. Tucker DeVries, I don't really see it necessarily. I don't necessarily see it. But anyway, that's the mock draft, y'all. This is an exciting class. There is a lot of top-end talent here. A lot of top-end talent. But hey, this is where I pass it off to you guys. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Stay tuned. Let's go talk about the comment of the episode. Alright, y'all, this is one of my favorite comments I've gotten in a little bit. So this actually is on a comment from just the other day, but it was on a video from a week ago, grading each NBA player midway through the season. We're going down here to Hugo Benito. Down here, he said, "What is that thumbnail? B.I. getting them shots from Cade." Okay. Just roll with me for a second. We're gonna zoom in really quickly and just look at this thumbnail for a second. It's looking a little bit interesting here. I know. Now I responded. I was like, "Look, I didn't do it on purpose, but I did notice it when I finished it, and I did not change it." Okay, so looking at it here, like I finished making it, and I was like, "Oh, that looks a little suspect." we gonna keep it in and see if anybody notices. So shout out Benito here for actually seeing that. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. No, that's funny as shit. I appreciate you guys for noticing stuff like that. I'm glad we're building a community where we can appreciate the stupid humor and everything. But hey, I appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.